The deeper I go in this topic, the more I realize that there's so much that cannot be explained via scientific methods of research. Do you think that science can ever catch up with the whole scope of what we're talking about here?
I actually do. I think science as a method is actually really brilliant. It's just a set of empirical tools for testing ideas and allowing us to have some sense of how genuine those ideas may be, our theories, our models, our hypotheses. The trouble is with most of the scientific endeavor is it's contained within this belief that around material reductionism, so that consciousness is kind of produced by the brain is the kind of working assumption. Or at least it's very strongly related to the brain, and anything that seems to imply a trans-cerebral consciousness, i.e. consciousness beyond the brain, is therefore just total baloney, woo-woo, flim-flam, whatever, whatever kind of the way it becomes ridiculed, and scientists begin to worry about their reputation. These experiences are often quite spontaneous, so they're hard to put under the scientific microscope. But I don't think they shouldn't be studied. And in fact, I think they absolutely should be studied, but in an open-minded way without too many presumptions. Now, when scientists now in this psychedelic research renaissance are beginning to look at certain of these phenomena in a genuine way, there's more interest now in near-death experiences, for instance, and the mystical experience. The mystical experience itself has been almost completely redeemed by the psychedelic renaissance. The mystical experience was either demonized or pathologized pretty much culturally. And now we're seeing that actually the mystical experience, if you have one during a psychedelic therapy session, chances are you will reduce all your clinical symptoms. So we measure the mystical experience. How mystical was your experience? It's crazy to think, how mystical was your experience on a scale of 1 to 10? But we measure it like that. And we find that, yes, the more mystical the experience, the greater are people's reductions in depression, anxiety, addictive behaviors and tendencies, end-of-life existential fear, and so on. So it's one of the best reliable predictors of clinical outcomes from psychedelic-assisted therapy is how mystical was your experience. Mm-hmm. So the mystical experience has now flipped 180 from being pathological to being part of a better sanity, in fact, of better mental health. So that's no small thing.
Oh, that's an important shift.
Unfortunately, all the other kinds of experiences have been kind of ignored, So, but what about telepathic experiences? What about having an out-of-body experience or feeling like you've got communication with a deceased loved one, Where is that in the story? And so I think we should open up our science to explore these things. I've begun to do research on this, and sure enough, they tend to be related to much better well-being when people have those non-mystical exceptional experiences. We found that they very reliably improved all kinds of indices of well-being. The number one was that people felt they had a much greater sense of purpose and meaning in life, which turns out, when you ask people who are depressed what the most important things they wish they could change about their depression, the number one thing is their sense of purpose and meaning in life, right? They lose their sense of purpose and meaning through their depression or vice versa. And these exceptional experiences that people may have with psychedelics really do give people a sense of purpose and meaning. So I think they are valuable experiences. We shouldn't just cast them out because they don't fit with our supposed scientific model. And remember, the science is just a method. It's a method of observation and testing. And I think it should be open to exploring and understanding these experiences better so we can more reliably have them in safe and beneficial ways.